Hello, hello. Give it a second for the stream to get going. But I'm as always, excited to be here for the Monday Music Motivation. Let's double check, see if everything's working. It looks like it's working. Yay. I redid everything for the streaming to make sure it works since I've been having so much difficulty with it lately, and fingers crossed, I think it's working this time. So, happy Monday. Welcome to the live Monday Music Motivation. I'm excited that you're here. And this one's kind of a follow-up to last week's, where last week we were talking about finding the gap and finding the gap as means of motivation. And there's two ways to find the gap. One is, and the gap is the gap between where you are and your expectations or where you want to be. So one way to find it is getting more honest with yourself about where you actually are in relationship to where you want to be. The other end of it, though, too, is if you get honest with yourself and feel like you're truly at where you want to be, then you need to raise the expectation. And last week I mentioned one of the best ways to raise the expectations is to listen to some great players, listen to some professionals, especially if you can see a great professional player performing live is just so inspiring and so motivating. And that point of comparison is what I want to dive into more today, because comparison can be the greatest motivation and also the greatest reason to just give up. So we have to be really careful about how we use comparison and how we compare ourselves to other performers and other players, because it can become sort of toxic very, very quickly if you're not careful about it. So when we're trying to find the gap and we're sort of comparing our playing to these great players, we have to make sure that we're always doing it in a way that's sort of aspirational or looking up to them. They aren't inherently better than us, and when you hear one amazing performance, that doesn't define that person, and your one terrible performance doesn't define you either. What we need is that looking up to it and aspirational of when you see a great performance, be like, wow, that was amazing. They did things on the clarinet that I didn't even know was possible. But now I do know it's possible, and now I can work towards doing that. And it doesn't mean that you'll be able to do it instantly, but it is something that you can see and you can work towards, and you can start developing and progressing in your clarinet playing. And that's when it's a great motivator, is when you see that and you're like, wow, I want to be able to do that. I aspire to be able to do that. This also works the other way as well, when you're sort of comparing down and you hear people who are earlier in their clarinet journey, or somebody just has a bad performance and you hear them play and you think, oh wow, like I'm so much better than them. That's great. That can also be a toxic comparison. That can also lead to complacency, where you're like, oh, I sound better than that person and that person and that person, so like I'm set. I'm good to go. I don't have to try anymore. And that's not going to motivate you. And that won't lead you to quit, where if you compare yourself to people better and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so much better than me, I can never do that, I should just give up now, then you'll just quit. Or maybe you do keep playing and just stagnate. Same thing happens if you compare and you're like, wow, I'm so much better than all of these people, I don't need to try anymore. And the stagnation happens again. So as you're trying to find that gap and as you're comparing yourself to other players, whether they're better or worse than you, first remember that every performance is different. So and every aspect of a player is different. It's too complicated and it's not linear enough to say like this person's objectively better than this person. Yes, at some levels, like a beginner and a pro, the pro is objectively definitely always better than the beginner. But when you're comparing yourself to people who are at a similar level to you, it's not so objective and it's not so linear. Like maybe that person has better phrasing, but you have better articulation, you have better sound quality, they have better rhythm accuracy. All of those kinds of things are much more complicated than just that person's better and that person's worse. So first of all, remember that when comparing. Second of all, anytime you find yourself making a comparison, make sure you do it from a positive, opportunistic mindset of when you're hearing somebody better, I can aspire to that. That's impressive. That's awesome. I want to be able to do that. when you're comparing yourself to someone worse than you, say, that's amazing. They're at an earlier stage in their clarinet journey. I remember when I used to play like that, and I remember all of the things that I learned and developed to get to where I am now, and I can still keep learning and developing those things too. That person has an articulation problem that I struggled with 5 years ago. Hey, it turns out I'm still struggling with that articulation issue a little bit. So that's a reminder I should get back in there and keep improving that articulation. So comparison can be the greatest tool for motivation and aspiration, but it also can lead to stagnation if you do it in the wrong way. So that's my reminder to always stay positive with your comparison and stay aspirational with it. Now, I want to let you know that for the next couple weeks, I won't have any YouTube videos or Monday Music Motivation for the holidays. But if you're looking for more clarinet stuff and have a bunch of free time over the next couple weeks, which I think most of us don't, but if you do, and you're wanting to sort of get a jump start on your new year of clarinet playing, then I highly encourage you to check out the Next Generation Clarinet Method test drive at quickstartclarinet.com/test drive. That link is in the description, and that will have a bunch of material that you can really dive into and start implementing. Maybe if you're on winter break or something like that and have some free time, that would be a great thing to dig into in the absence of the normal videos and Monday Music Motivation. Also, don't forget that you have all of the tools that you need. These messages are just some messages that I'm coming up with that hopefully resonate a little bit and hopefully motivate and inspire you a little bit. But this is really where the Monday Music Motivation comes in. Filling out your practice template for the week, getting it scheduled, getting it in your plan. I haven't done mine for this week yet, but you can see how it works. It's the date for the week, the reflection of how things are going, your goal for accomplishing this week, and then your plan where you're going to actually schedule and put in your calendar your practice times, what you're going to practice, and then you're ready to go to jump in and really get the most progress out of it. So as you're practicing this week, be thinking about that comparison. Keep looking for the gap, looking for the opportunities for improvement in a positive way. Fill out your practice template and go to quickstartclarinet.com/test drive if you want some more good, valuable, actionable clarinet content and learning while I'm away for the holidays. So thanks so much for being here, and I will see you on the next live Monday Music Motivation in January. Have a wonderful end of the year, happy holidays, happy new year, happy practicing, and I hope it's a great few weeks for everybody. Bye.